Hello, I'm Julie Tucker, and I am going to be training two of my faculty today. This is Miss Suzanne Weiss. She is our counselor at Southside High School, and Miss Cassie Clark. She is our library media specialist. And we are going to be talking about ACT student score reports and how we can better serve our students by helping them have the knowledge of their score reports when they get them back from the ACT. First and foremost, though, just let me tell you a little bit about Southside High School, our demographics and such. We are a 6A high school, around 792 students. We are not Title I. We don't receive the federal funds. We only have around 30% free and reduced lunch students. You can see that if you break the data down by gender, our males outweigh the females at Southside. And you can see a nice breakdown of how large our classes are. Really and truly, if you look at the 11th and 12th grade classes, that's kind of what we're going to be gearing our ACT score reports talking about today, our 11th grade class. This particular score report that we're going to go over is actually a 12th grade student, and they took this last year in the spring. So just to a quick refresher course or reminder about ACT and the purpose that it has for high schools, especially in Alabama, but all over the nation. It is a standardized test that's used for college admissions, and it's also used for scholarship awards for those going to college. In Alabama, they actually use students' ACT scores to measure academic achievement in high school. So it's really important in a lot of facets. And basically the test covers 4 subject areas in English, math, reading, and science. There is a writing portion to the ACT as well. For students that take the ACT, they can expect to receive their scores online within 2 to 8 weeks of testing. That's important information that we need to make sure that we relay to our students and to our teachers when we do turnaround training, because everybody wants to know, when do you get your scores when you take the ACT. So all 11th grade students will be taking the ACT. They get to take that free their junior year of high school. So particularly the junior class this year will be able to take that in the spring. And so that's a great thing that the state of Alabama has set up for our high school students. Now, benchmarks are something that ACT has designed. And basically what a benchmark is in the different subject areas of the test, that score represents the score that ACT feels that you are college ready. If you make that benchmark, that you have a better chance of scoring a B or higher in college classes when you get there. So the benchmark for English is 18, math is 22, science is 23, and reading is a 22. So those are important when we get to the score report here in a minute, because you're going to actually see the benchmarks on the score report. Okay, so this is what our students will receive. They will actually get an ACT score report. And if you look right over here, the composite score, that's the big deal. That's what, that is where a lot of the scholarships are awarded from that composite score. Your colleges, they basically, have whether you can be admitted conditionally or unconditionally with that composite score there. If you look to the side in the blue box, you see the math, science. You have a STEM score, you have English, reading, writing, and then you have an English language arts subscore. The main scores that I want us to focus on when we're talking to our teachers and training them for them to talk to the students about are those basic scores, the math, the science, the English, and the reading. And you can see those are the subject area scores. Now, over here to the side, you see where it says the purple lines within the score boxes indicate the college readiness benchmarks. So if you're looking at this score report here and you see those benchmarks that we just talked about, you can see where this particular student either fell below the benchmark or they fell above the benchmark or they were above the benchmark. So you can look at that and the student can see, hey, okay, I need to do some work in this. I'm below that benchmark. So according to ACT, I may not do very well in some of my college courses if I don't, do some extra work and some extra practice there. Now, a really nice part of the score report is the detailed results. And you can see that that is broken down and it actually gives the student information and tells them what they need to work on that can actually improve their score. I feel like this is a really important part of the score report that our teachers have got to focus on with our students when they're going over this with them. Over to the right side of the report, you can see there's ranking results. So if the student wants to understand how they rank within the US or how many students in the US made a 23 on their ACT. Well, it tells you 69% of students in the US make a composite 23. So it just kind of breaks that down for them to be able to see where they rank. Do you guys have any questions so far? Good deal. All right, this is a second page of the high school report, and this is great. They do a career interest inventory, and then it kind of pairs their scores and stuff with areas that they may fit and within their career interest inventory. And so it kind of gives them an idea of a major or an occupation that might fit within what they said was their interest inventory and their score and all that they received. So if a student is just really not sure what direction, this kind of helps them to kind of maybe find a pathway according to what they like and dislike in their interest inventory, and then what majors or occupation would kind of fall into those things, and then with their scores as a reflection of that as too. This also has the college fit information, so they get to actually put the colleges that they're interested in and like where they want to send their scores, and it will then tell them and break it down, what they need ACT wise, where they line up with others that attend that college. So it's a great piece of information for the students as well. Something that they may not pay a lot of attention to unless we bring their attention to it for them to really look at. So specifically, let's look at this student score report as though from it is if we were going to then kind of like do this with each of our students. So we want our teachers to be able to break the score reports down and then be able to have those student conferences with our students. So looking at this one, you can see the composite score. He scored a 23. If we want to look at a weakness, then we see that he scored below the benchmark in math. So that would be an area that we could really focus on with this student. But we can't just focus on weaknesses. We have to make sure that we celebrate, the accomplishments here. And there are a lot of accomplishments here. This student has done very, very well. He's above benchmark in science, above benchmark in English, above benchmark in reading. So those are definitely things to celebrate with the student, when going over the score report with them. Okay, so looking specifically, this is that detailed portion of the score report that is really going to be important for our teachers to really dig into and then be able to kind of pinpoint some specific areas for the students to work on. So we've already, if you look at the math there, the student shows strong skills in geometry and statistics and probability, but he really, really needs extra practice in algebra and number and quantity. If you look, 33%, he only got 2 out of 6 questions correct when it came to that. And so those could be target areas that he could do some ACT practice on through the free ACT practice sites, and he could focus specifically on those things. But he's not going to know to focus on that unless, you know, he is understanding how to read a school report, or unless a teacher is helping him, you know, and giving him some of that extra practice that he needs. He met the benchmark in all of those other subject areas, but he could still, if he is still wanting to raise that ACT composite score, he could easily zone in on those areas where he was really close. If you look in English, knowledge and language, he got 9 out of 11 questions correct as far as that goes. Well, I mean, that's almost all of them. I mean, he could easily, you know, work on some of those areas in order to get even a higher score. Okay, so earlier we talked about the ranking results. And so if you look, you know, specifically, I think we mentioned where the composite score ranked in the US. And if you look where his score ranks in Alabama, 80% of students score around a 23, which is a very acceptable, very good score. It may be a little below for scholarship acceptance or awards. So that could be a goal, like to help the student set a goal to maybe hit that 25. If he could bump his score up for 2 points, you know, then a lot of scholarships sometimes base around that 25 ACT score. Some of the lower ones, not full rides and everything. But also, if you look down at the bottom of this, I don't think I mentioned it earlier. This is really awesome. When I was studying the school reports, I really thought this is a great asset. The student is projected to obtain a gold level on the ACT Work Keys assessment. We know that all of our seniors take the Work Keys assessment. Well, if the students want to know if they're taking it for free, the ACT is an 11th grader, they get these score reports. It tells them what their projected score would be on this ACT Work Keys if they're going to take their senior year. And so that is a great indicator right there, and a great way for them to set some goals as well for themselves, because they know that there will be another test their senior year that's important for them as well. So I know I've just thrown a lot of information at you guys, but I really appreciate you hanging in there with me, and I'm excited about doing this training and where it can lead for our faculty and for our students. So our next steps would be to train the faculty to understand these ACT score reports, just like I've kind of walked you guys through them. We're going to do turnaround training for all of our faculty so that they have a knowledge of the ACT score report, what it looks like, and how they can help our students. The next step will be reviewing, and teachers will review score reports with their Panther period students. So once they've had a chance to look at those score reports and kind of study them for their focus groups, then they will be able to have those conversations that we're talking about with our students. And the last step is going to be to plan a parent or student night, and it may have to end up being something virtual since we are in the middle of a pandemic. But I really feel like it's important that the more that our parents know about these score reports and everything, they can also help their kids. And if they know the areas and understand that these score reports tell them the areas that they can target to improve their scores, then I really believe that our parents will do whatever they can to help and assist our kids with getting that extra help that they need. Do you guys have any questions or any comments or any ideas about the ACT score reports?
I don't think so. I think you covered everything.
I think so too.
Um,
It's a good score report. It tells a lot. I think that they can better their scores by knowing how to look at the score report for sure.
I loved the detail of especially the math that shows you which skill that they
Mhm.
are okay in and then which skill they really need to do some work.
Mhm.
That's huge.
Yes, and it's very beneficial, and I want to make sure that our students understand that and what that means, and that they're not just looking at that thinking, they're going to look at that composite score and be done, because that's what they're wanting. That composite score is important, but what they need to do is really look at the breakdown, because that breakdown can help them improve that composite score. So
And not only for the students, but I also think it's equally important for um, teachers as well, just a self-evaluation for their classroom instruction.
absolutely. Um, just references, act.org is fantastic and has a lot of information there. And thank you for letting me train you guys.
Thank you.